Hey everyone, Larissa from Beekeeping Made Simple, and this live post is about one of the few things I did right when starting my bee business. And thank you to everyone who subscribed to the channel recently. In the last 28 days, we got more subscribers than we had for the last 3 months or so. So thank you guys for that. And if you want to be notified when we put up new blog posts, then check out the link in the show description. I have a link to go to Beekeeping Made Simple to check that out. Okay, so I did a lot of things wrong when starting my bee business, but I was trying to think about like what I actually did right that allowed me to keep going, because you can't just make mistakes and not ever do anything right. And I think I know what they are. So then there are two big things that I did right. And one of them is not feasible for most people watching this. So I want to start off with the one that I did right that I think everyone can do. And that is I actually was nice to other beekeepers. Now, I see a lot of beekeepers being nice, but then you have the percentage of people that want to say something negative about what other people are doing. And I think that is the wrong way to go. So when I was getting started, I had worked for another bee farm. They became my first client. And still to this day, my best wholesale customer is a honey farm. Now you might think I'm in business to sell honey. That's my primary product is I sell honeycomb. Why would my best customer be a honey farm? Wouldn't they be my, competition? And they kind of are my competition, but they're also still my best customer. Because you know what? They are way bigger than me. They have 3,000 hives. Everybody knows who they are. They're in all the magazines, and when people want to talk to a honey company in Hawaii, they're usually the people who you go to. So when chefs need honeycomb, when people want to buy anything related to honey, they go to them. And what I did was I just offered them something that they don't do already. I wasn't going to offer them, the same kind of honey that they already harvest. But what I did was I provided a solution to something, which was that people were asking them for a product and they didn't want to start creating it. And so I was a solution for that. I went to a local farmer's market up north, which is like an hour and a half from where I live. And there was a woman at a honey table selling honeycomb, which is exactly what I sell. I started talking to her, and you know what she did? She referred another person to me that was looking to buy honeycomb, because she just does small amounts of honeycomb in some jars as a specialty side project. And this was somebody that was looking for those whole frames of honeycomb. She's referred people multiple times to me. And you know what? When people have a swarm that they want, not a swarm, like a cutout, of bees that they want removed from their property, and especially if they live up there, I send people to her. So I think that is a big mistake a lot of people make in every industry, but I see it a lot in beekeeping and the honey industry, is that everyone is so like secretive about what they do to manage mites and how they solve problems and who they're selling their honey to. And I think that's a huge mistake. Because you know what? People don't know what's involved when it comes to beekeeping unless they're a beekeeper. So when they hear that you're a beekeeper, they assume you do cutouts, and they assume that you do the beeswax wraps and beeswax candles and beeswax body products, and you do comb honey and raw honey, and you must harvest every single honey that has ever existed. And you don't, and you shouldn't, because you need to focus on something. But when somebody needs something that a beekeeper can do, they're going to just contact the first beekeeper that they can think of or that they know. And if that beekeeper knows you and you do that, then you're going to be the person that they contact. So what I did was I started a bee association in my area, because there was only one on this island, and it was over a 2-hour drive away, on a high elevation, not so pleasant mountain road that I wasn't going to at nighttime. So if you don't have a bee association, you can start one. I did. I just made a Facebook page and started a meetup group, and that's how I started my bee association. But really, any way that you can network with other beekeepers, you should. You're at farmers markets and there's a honey table. Talk to the person at that honey table. If you do cutouts, talk to people that do bee removals in areas outside of your little area. Because if someone calls you for removal and it's 2 hours away, instead of wasting all that time driving up there and doing it, give it to that person that you know that lives in that area. And then when that person gets a phone call for a removal in your area, instead of them doing it, they might refer that person to you. So I really think like what has helped me be in business is that I know other beekeepers, especially they're called Big Island bees, and they're a very large honey farm. They're one of the largest organic honey farms in the area. And when people want comb honey, they're usually the ones to go to. They don't do comb honey, so they contact me. They sell Larissa's comb honey in their store, and I offer to photograph my jar of comb honey that I sell them and give it to them for their website. I gave them a description. Now they sell it on their website, and they're my best client, and they've consistently always been there. They are the only store that calls me when they need more product. Every other store I have to call them. Do you need more honeycomb? Do you need more honeycomb? They're the only people that consistently, and you know what? They have beekeeping museum. They give 3 tours a day, 6 days a week, prior to COVID. And people go to a beekeeping museum and they see comb honey and they're more likely to get it. Oh, and Alex has a comment. Do I use foundation or starter strips in the frames? I don't use any of those. Occasionally, I used to use starter strips. I never use foundation, but I have a big chest freezer. So I found that to do comb honey, if your hive is perfectly level, you have 10 frames in your 10 frame box. And when I put an empty honey super on, I'll put like 2 or 3 frames of drawn out comb already in that box. That's like instead of a starter strip, I put drawn out comb, 2 or 3 frames of drawn out comb spaced out in that box, and the bees usually make it perfect. No starter strips needed, but you can do starter strips if you want to. So the number one thing I think I did that helped me create my business and make more than I was spending was that I knew other beekeepers. I created a local bee association when there wasn't one, and I just kept in touch with the bee farms. The second thing I did, which isn't really feasible for a lot of people, but it was a huge help for me, was I worked for a bee farm before I started mine. And I know like you can't just like quit your job and just go work for a bee farm, but if you can quit your job and work for a bee farm, and if you honestly want that bee farm to be your source of income and your business for decades, work for another farm first, because I did that. And what I saw was that I didn't want, a fleet of trucks and 7 employees and a huge warehouse and to deal with all these barrels and forklifts and all of the stuff that goes into having a honey business. And then they are affiliated with the other part of the honey business, which is a separate entity, which was the honey packing part. And I had no idea that these larger honey companies, they don't do both. They don't have beehives and pack the honey. So then there was a separate business that took the barrels of honey and had this huge machinery that poured that exact amount of ounces into the jar. And then they had the machine that put it on a conveyor belt, and someone screwed the lid on, and then there was and someone put the shrink wrap band on, and then there was the heat lamp that heated it up. And there's just, these huge trucks that are coming in, and you have to pack up pallets, and you have to deal with, we're on an island, so you have to deal with the shipping and just all of the logistics of that kind of stuff. And I just saw it, and I saw how stressed out they were and how little money you make for how much you're working. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this. Thanks for no thanks. So I also saw what worked for them. I mean, my boss flat out told me if it wasn't for our wholesale, we wouldn't be in business. They make tons of money off of their website. They have a store. They have people coming for the tours, but still, it was always about their wholesale. And that was also really important for me to see. And I didn't listen to her, and I had to learn that mistake the hard way. When you work for this business, you also just get to know somebody that's a little bit higher up, like in a bigger honey business or other bee business, that you know, because they will really help you. There'll be somebody that you can just go to when you have questions. And, they trust you and you trust them, because it can be hard to get information about starting a business from people that are potentially going to be someone you're competing with. And when you go to bee association meetings, I've always found that it's, the backyard beekeepers, people with fewer than 20 hives, or maybe someone with 50 hives. But for the most part, the people with the larger businesses aren't really going to be going to the associations. So you're not going to be able to find like a mentor in that sort of way. And so working for a honey farm allowed me to just get that mentorship and the behind the scenes without having to make all of those huge mistakes myself. And the third thing I did, which I did on purpose, because at the very least I knew that from working for a marketing firm and being graphic designer for the last 10 years, and that was to pick a focus. And it's like the number one thing whenever I would give talks at like entrepreneurship workshops and stuff. It was like the big thing everyone wanted to know was like, how am I supposed to advertise when there are all these kinds of people that could potentially buy my product? And it's like, you pick somebody and you sell to them, and you pick a product that's your best product and you sell that one product to your ideal customer. You don't sell everything to everybody. So I picked honeycomb because I knew that I had one potential customer, which was my current employer. She would buy honeycomb from me. So that's what I picked. And I sell beeswax candles, and I sell some beeswax body products and liquid honey. But honeycomb is what I'm known for. It's what I have on the front page of my website. It's what I focus my SEO on when people are Googling me. And then that's how I get in with some of these places. And then maybe I'll try to sell them additional products later on. But honeycomb is what I start off with. And so whatever that might be for you, it really partially depends on what you like to do and what you see there is a need for, what you think is lacking maybe in the stores or farmers markets, or what people are asking for. And you can have other things later on, but you really need to focus. You need to focus on what you're going to sell as your main product, and then you need to focus on who would be your ideal customer. Like the example I would always give people is that I met the owners that started that And One basketball brand, and they said that they sold. I just noticed there's like some random Lego. It's life with a 2-year-old. So this basketball brand sold shoes, and they noticed that they were actually selling a ton of shoes to nurses, and it became this like thing among nursing community, was that these shoes were great shoes for if you were on your feet all day. That didn't mean that they changed their advertising. They didn't start advertising to nurses or people in the medical profession. It was just like a happy accident. Okay, great, these people like our shoes. They never made a commercial that showed like people playing basketball and nurses running down a hallway at a hospital. That would make no sense. And so that's a little bit more extreme, but you still have to look at that when making your own advertising and figuring out what your website's going to be like and stuff. Is like, who is the ideal person that would buy my product, and what is this main product that is awesome and this person's going to want as soon as they find out about how awesome it is. And that's just your message. Other people might care about it and see it, but that's your main message and your focus. So those are the 3 things that I did right, and there's obviously a whole lot less than I think I did right than what I did wrong. I think I did a lot more things wrong. But that's just the way it is when you're getting started. Most people's businesses don't last 10 years. 10 years is really on the longer end. Most people's businesses last a whole lot less than that. And as a beekeeper, maybe your business would go on longer because you have your bees, and that's always what's going to keep you going. But the sooner you can do something to make yourself producing an income that's not stressing you out and just, running you ragged, the better, because it'll just be more fun and it'll be easier. And from my experience, especially if you do something like online sales, the holidays are hard enough as it is as a normal person or as somebody that has kids and family. You add on to that the stress of having to fill orders and people buying from your website, having to fill wholesale orders to stores because they're running out and it's between Thanksgiving and Christmas. The last thing you need is to feel like you're not even making any money off of this or it's not worth it to you. So the sooner you figure out exactly what you want to do and how to make a profit off of it, a decent profit, the better, because I think you'll stay in business a whole lot longer that way. So hope that helped. If you found it helpful, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button, because that helps to spread the word to YouTube, helps YouTube think that they should spread the word about the video. And I'll have some links in the show notes down below for things that I think might be helpful and things that I mentioned in the video. Thanks for watching.